Alright, you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So it's 500 days today, 500 days. And I suppose today is as good a time as any to have a little bit of a fucking reflect. You know, it feels so fucking long ago, 500 days, but it feels like to me, I'm at the very beginning. I'm only just starting now. Like I gave up drinking 500 days ago, but I didn't give up the person I was. I wanted to hold on to that person, and I fought change along the way to keep that person I was intact. And I guess that has a lot to do with not knowing who the fuck I am or who the fuck I was. But recently, I'm starting to hear my own voice in my head again. Booze is like jet fuel to your ego. So you pour booze on that and your ego just grows bigger and bigger. And I don't mean your ego like you think you're the best in the world. That voice inside your head starts taking over the other voices and it becomes the dominant voice in your head. And that voice, the ego, is just built entirely around fear. That voice just wants to burn the whole fucking world down to lift itself up. And not even to lift itself up, just to keep itself in its shitty position. And you spend 15, 20 years listening only to that voice, you forget who you are. You forget what your own voice fucking sounds like. And it's only been recently that the other voice has started to become more dominant in my head. Because the other person is dying. And I'm starting to realize I'm going to have to let that old me die. And that's fine. I guess that's what transformation is. The becoming of something new. Like a fucking caterpillar to a butterfly, you know? And that's a good thing. I don't know why I fought it for so long. Transforming is a good thing. That's the whole fucking point, isn't it? That's why you start a journey like this. Is because you want to become something more than you are or were. But I guess you fight it because you don't want that thing to die. Even if it is a metaphorical death. No, actually, it's more than a metaphorical death. The dying of an old you really is a type of death. I can feel it. I can feel the old me dying and clinging on. He's got his hooks in pretty tight, but it's inevitable. It's inevitable, old fella, but I'm going to have to let you fade into the darkness of that night. And it's scary too. This whole process is quite scary because once that person completely dies, I don't know if it 100% ever fully dies. It might be like a snake. You shed your skin. You're the same snake, but you're a completely new snake. But it's scary because you start back at zero again. You're back to nothing again. The foundations of your previous personality or the previous you are no longer there, so you have to begin rebuilding. It all seems to be part of an ongoing process, a continual cycle of becoming. But this is the point. How sad would it be if I gave up booze, tried to change my life, tried my hardest to change my fucking life, and it's been a fucking rocky road. It hasn't been a linear fucking line in an upward trajectory. It has been bumpy as fuck. But wouldn't the saddest thing be that you do all this, you really do try and change, but nothing changes, you just stay the same piece of shit you always were. It's not even changing either. It's more fulfilling a potential. And that potential changes with you. That's not linear either. Like if you asked me what my potential was 500 days ago, I probably would have said I can be anything, but I didn't believe it. I did not believe it at all. Now if you ask me, I'm not too sure what the limits of potential are. I think you can really shock yourself. Something else has come back to me recently, which I haven't had genuinely in a long time. Ambition. I feel ambitious. And I don't mean like I want to be the biggest stand-up comedian in the world. I want this podcast to be the biggest podcast in the world. I want to be adored and loved. I really don't give a fuck about any of that. I mean, it'd be nice to earn a fucking living, I can tell you that right now. But any of the other bullshit is completely superfluous. The ambition that I have now, it feels like a kind of striving to fulfill that potential, to be as good as I can be. It's all weird. Whatever the fuck's going on is fucking weird at the moment. Having ambition again is really fucking weird. I don't know why I got rid of it. I crushed it. I remember when I was a kid, I used to be ambitious. And then something happened there. And I lost all ambition. I stymied it. Maybe I thought it was embarrassing, or maybe I thought it was selfish or greedy, or what's the point, nihilistic. I don't know. But for a very long time there, well, as long as I can remember, I had no ambition. Even the things I was doing, I never really cared enough to strive. I sort of just showed up and did whatever I felt like doing at the time. If I couldn't be fucked, I couldn't be fucked. If I had a little bit of inspiration, I'd fire up. But most of the time, I just did not care enough to put in an effort. But now I feel like when everything is all said and done, all totaled up, there's no difference between putting in best, honest, hardest effort and no effort at all. The overall cost to you are the same. Maybe the final cost to you putting in no effort is more expensive than putting in your absolute God's honest best effort. And that's what I feel like doing now. I feel like that's the ambition that's fired back up in me. It's all strange. It's all weird. And my relationship with alcohol now, I remember back at the start, it really did feel like I was losing the love of my life. And I was, I suppose. No, I definitely was losing the love of my life. I had never known a love so great. But now I look at alcohol, and don't get me wrong, I do think of booze like an ex-love, and like any old flame, any old love, every now and then you think to yourself, fuck, it would be nice to bang her out again. Just once, that would be nice. Just for fucking old time's sake. See if it's changed, see if it still feels the same. But now I can sort of rationalize it a little bit better. You're like, oh, that was a bad fucking relationship. There was some fucking wild times in there. But yeah, she's no good for me anymore. We're not meant to be. So yeah, that is my reflection on 500 days of sobriety. Let's go another 500 more. All right. Thanks for listening. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the podcast, give it a share around with your friends, and I'll see you the fuck later.